What's up, guys? This is Weslee Weighs In. I'm Wesley.
I am Bailey.
And today we have the brothers, the Vasquez brothers. We have George Vasquez. He's been training for 13 years, first degree black belt. We got Diego Vasquez, his brother, training for 8 years, also a black belt, both under Danny Alvarez. They are located in Grand Prairie. So, guys, let's get right into it. Y'all started at Alvarez, right? So, how did you start before Alvarez? What was your background? Either one of y'all.
So leading up to or prior to jiu-jitsu, all I did was play sports, whether it was football, baseball, soccer. The only sport I didn't do, like legit, is basketball. Other than that, we boxed, we played hockey. I mean, our mom just wanted to put us in everything. What do you like? Stick with it. Went from there. Football is my first love. And then my brother started training when he was 18. I think I was 11. He's like, hey, you come do this with me? I'm like, nah, I'll take you down. And that's it. That's all I need to do. Fast forward a couple of years. When I was 15 first, I tried out my first class, September of 2016. And our coach's daughter, Danielle, beat me up. After the second round, I threw up. And then we rode again. I came back. After class, I threw up. I got home, I threw up.
And this was when you were actively playing football still at the time?
Like football season probably just ended.
Okay.
Because it was a little different for me. I had dropped out of high school to help take care of our mom. Our mom had breast cancer.
Okay.
Cancer-free, thank God, everything's good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so pretty much my brother said, hey, we don't have any lazy people in our family. Mm-hmm. He was training jiu-jitsu. Our mom was doing Zumba and dancing. And I'm like, all right, cool, I'll give it a go. And then I didn't show back up for 6 months.
So you're a big macho football player, then got your butt handed to you.
By nothing but women. Women, not just black belts, but blue belts,
Shout out
brown
to the
belt.
women.
Yes. So thanks to Danielle. She loves this story. So when she hears
I
it,
bet she does.
she'll be happy. And it was awesome. And then January 3rd of 2017, the exact same thing happened, but I didn't throw up multiple times. It was just that one time, and then I caught the bug and fell in love with it ever since.
Nice. What about you, George? So
I used to work out at the YMCA down the street from Alvarez's gym, and I would drive by and I saw the sign, and I just kind of kept seeing it. I'm like, what is jiu-jitsu? I met a acquaintance that had an Alvarez shirt on. I'm like, hey, you train there? He's like, yeah, it's really fun. Come try it. So, kind of planted a seed. And then the final thing that really pushed me to go was I met Coach Alvarez's dad, Alvarez Sr. I was working at Office Max. He was getting some supplies. And I'm like, hey, do you work there? I saw he had a shirt on. He's like, yeah, they have a 30-day free trial. He's like, come try it out. I was like, oh, okay, 30 days. And kind of a similar story I wasn't playing sports at that time, but I was at the Y, I was lifting. I like to stay fit. And my first round was against like a 13-year-old kid. I already forgot his name, sorry. But I was 18 at the time. And
many years ago.
Many years, 13 years ago. He triangle choked me, and I'd never been choked with someone's legs, like around my neck.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck? And, I got mat burn on my knees, on top of my feet. Similar to Diego, I didn't throw up at the gym, but I went home, I'm sitting there, and I think I had an adrenaline dump, and I run outside, puke. And my mom's like, don't go back. Like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know what happened to me, but I got to go back. I don't know what that was, and I never quit since.
Yeah.
So that was July of 2012. There was a 2-month period I couldn't afford jiu-jitsu. I took a little break, and our mom was like, I'll pay half. Don't worry. So for about 6 months, she helped me pay half. And then I got a job that I could afford it, and I've never taken any significant time off. I got my black belt in August of 2020. And so I'm a first degree black belt. And then kind of to go into the gym portion, right? We were training, competing, but then my daughter was born 2021, and sorry, 2020. And
Is that why you were laughing?
yeah, I'm like,
You're like,
where's my
really?
I'm sorry.
My
There's
niece,
a lot of numbers.
my niece
There's
is
a lot of
gonna.
numbers.
Oh, all right,
sorry.
Maxine.
She's so short for her
Yeah,
age.
I'm like-
She's gonna watch us one day and be like, "Dang, Dad."
Wow, how old am I?
Sorry, I forget my daughter's names and ages all the time.
Okay, so
Well,
Good.
you have an excuse, right? He has
But-
one.
okay. So the point is my responsibility started to change. I used to be
Right, yeah.
very selfish with my training. Like nothing else came before jiu-jitsu. My wife now, Ashley, we've been together since we were 16. So it was, right? We were together 2 years, but then jiu-jitsu entered my life and she knew like, we'll go do things and spend time together, but jiu-jitsu is priority to a lot of other things. And to almost everything, right? To everything else, like any events.
How many years had you been doing jiu-jitsu whenever you had Maxine?
10 years.
10 years. And then, okay.
And so it was a big change. Like, wow, it's not just about me in jiu-jitsu. I got to really put her in front. And so the idea was like, we had this idea in 2020 to open a gym. So our mom got us puzzle piece mats. And so we put them down in her garage. We're like, okay, let's do it. Let's make a gym. Well, then COVID hit. And honestly, it's an excuse because we have a buddy, shout out Damian Kells. He moved to South Texas, opened a gym during the pandemic. So it's an excuse that we didn't get it done, but we had limiting beliefs and we just didn't really pursue it. You know, some time passed. I told him, hey, Grand Prairie is like an open market. There's not a lot of gyms there. I'm going to buy a house there and we're going to do it there. So kind of that's what we did. I got a house, laid the mats down. I'm like, Diego, all right, no excuses. Let's do it. And we just started, I think, like 1 day a week, 2 days a week.
It started 1 day a week. It was a Friday because I was working at Alvarez. I was like, hey, I could only make Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he doesn't need me. He's like, okay, well, let's get on. Let's get on. So it was just the flyers, it was the ads, you know, but we're not ads yet, word of mouth. We had flyers given them to people. We're like, okay, well, how do we work the Facebook marketing ads? We're like, what do we do? And working with our coach, it was like, all right, cool. I know how to do this now. I know how to sell. I know how to bring people in. And then it was just the little stuff, like where are we gonna buy our geese from? Right? The belts, our rash guards. And we're like, oh, we didn't think about this. Okay, how are we gonna come up with waivers? Or what's our pricing gonna be? Website. And we're just like, oh man, did we think this through? Right? So all I would do at Alvarez at work is asking coach questions. Hey coach, how do we do this with the business? Or asking senior or Miss Alvarez, Coach Alvarez's wife, like notes. I mean, a big old booklet, just notes, notepads, just writing everything we need. Hey, this is how much we need to be profitable. This is how much we need to get a space. Hey, what do we do? And then luckily, my brother or our friend, right? I grew up with them. Daniel, his sister, was subleasing our previous space before the expansion. And it was like take over the last 6 months of their lease or something like that. And we were like, he's like, hey, do you want to go for it?
What a shoe-in, man.
Yeah.
Dude, what the connection. Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Lucky from the
You're
very
on
beginning.
Main Street, bro.
On Main Street.
You have a heck of a location right here. Right, front and center, right on Main Street in Grand Prairie. I mean, that's a shoe-in for the location and the hookup on the space.
Can I ask too, so you were working with and getting a lot of like advice from Alvarez. It sounds then like they were very supportive of what you were wanting to do and open another gym. So that's awesome.
He believed in us first, right? Like he knew from the very beginning, like we love jiu-jitsu, right? We always talked to him. We stayed after class, we would help. So I was doing construction at the time. And we had a big job in Houston. I had just came back, and we didn't have any work for it was like two going on 3 weeks at the time. He's like, he heard me over talking because I couldn't pay for my monthly membership that month. So he pulled me to the side after class. He's like, hey, you want to come work for me? He's like, whatever hours you need, I'll help you. He's like, I know you and your brother want to start your own business. Let's get it done. I'll help you guys whatever way possible. Just let me know.
That's awesome.
And I was like,
that's super cool.
whoa, it wasn't even thinking about it. I was, yes, right? Whatever you want to start me off, yes. And I worked there for a year and a half, 2 years, and I personally think like we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our coach, right?
Yeah.
It's like a paid internship.
Yeah,
Literally,
for
and what
sure.
a testament
Literally.
too to what we've talked about so much about the community of
Jiu-jitsu,
jiu-jitsu, you know,
yeah.
like that's incredible. You know, you can imagine some people would not want their students to do that. They would see it as competition or whatever. But yeah, that's amazing that he saw that in y'all and the potential in you and then wanted to invest and help you to achieve your dream. Like that's amazing. I love that.
That's all he wanted. It's funny because his biggest affiliates are outside of Texas. So for our goal was like, man, like we have people repping in Mexico. It's one of the biggest schools in Mexico in Monterrey. It's our teammate Sergio, the Anacondas, the TPC Anacondas, right? They're one of the biggest schools in Mexico. Then you have in Michigan, you have what is it? Metro. You have
Palm.
Muskegon. There's so many schools where they're big and they're doing their own thing, and then there was like none here, right? Coach Alvarez was the big affiliate from Coach Bruno, right, in Texas, and lead. So we're like, man, let's show out for him. All the work, you know, of course for us, but for how much he put time and effort, you know, traveling for competitions, we're like, we owe him, right?
Yeah.
So, no, definitely.
No, that's awesome. Seriously. I'm going to back it up a little bit back to the origin story. So I'm curious, when you started jiu-jitsu, when did y'all start getting the competition bug? Like how deep in were you like, is it kind of like part of the culture of that everyone kind of competes when y'all were first training, or is it just y'all caught it and y'all wanted to compete like crazy?
No, if you know Alvarez, and especially when I started in 2012, like it wasn't you had to compete, but it was a lot of people competed there. And so when I was there, I was seeing people compete almost every weekend. Alvarez was competing. I think he won his first world title that year. So I was like, you know, hey, can I compete? They're like, yeah, you compete whenever you want. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah.
And it helped that my teammates, you know, kind of put confidence in me. They're like, hey, I think you'll do good, man. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you do good in here, so you'll probably do good out there. But I didn't know that we don't travel as a team for like outside of local DFW tournaments. It's kind of you just go on your own.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do Fight to Win Austin Open. This was when Fight to Win did tournaments. Not
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
he did.
I didn't either.
He did tournaments. Seth Daniels, and so I did the Austin Open. I'm like, so who's going? They're like, there's like a few kids gonna be going, but no adults. I was like, does Coach Alvarez go? They're like, no. I was like, oh crap. Well, all right. So my wife Ashley, my girlfriend at the time, we went, and I was playing Spider Guard at the time, but I didn't really know I was playing Spider Guard, and I won gold, and boom, the bug just,
Nice.
you know, first tournament,
Fight
first
to
gold.
win? What belt were you?
White belt.
You're a white belt.
I'm sorry. And that was October of 2012. So 3 months in, first
fought a
tournament.
3
Oh, okay.
months in?
And it's a tournament though. I keep thinking every time I hear
was
fight
just-
to win that it's like a
No, it was a
super fight,
tournament.
you
So it
know?
was a 140-pound white belt adult.
Oh, that's
division.
awesome though.
So
And
I
you
had
had the
like
bug.
3 months
fights.
in. I
Yeah.
can't believe you did it 3 months in.
No, that's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was it was just fun. Like I'll give some insight because like I think it's good for people to try to, or I can relate. Maybe some people can't relate. Like my brother was good at football. Me, soccer, I never scored a goal in my life. I never scored a touchdown in my life. I didn't play baseball like organized, so I never had that feeling of like winning. Like I won the score a goal. Like I always wanted to do that. So winning a gold medal on my own terms, like I was like, whoa, I'm actually kind of good at something, you know, like.
Yeah.
And so that felt good. I was like, I think I can do this. Like, this is something I've always wanted to do. Like, win something where I can,
Anything.
you know, anything,
Just
please.
anything
I
at
just
all.
want to win, man, please. So I didn't get it until I was 18 years old, and
Hey, better late than never.
yeah, and
You
so
know
that's
what?
really why I think I fell in love with it. I was like, oh, cool. So
I
just
relate
like,
to that though, because I mean, when Diego was talking about being like playing all the sports, I was sitting here thinking, okay, Weslee clone over here. Weslee was exactly the same, always did all the sports. And we've discussed many times that I am not an athlete, and it's weird that I'm doing this at all. But yeah, I totally relate to that. Getting out there and the first time you win in a tournament, and I think one of the times I won, I like almost cried walking up to the podium.
And this is coming from someone who played softball. They called her noggin because she got hit in the head with baseball.
I could give you a whole podcast episode of the number of times I've been hit in the head and or passed out.
And this was batting
reasons.
or?
No, I took a fly ball to the head. I also ran into a fence once. Y'all, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Many
How does she end up in jiu-jitsu, like trying to break arms? You know, you think that'd be like maybe more technical than catching a ball, you know?
Yeah, I was so close. I just, the glove was just ever so slightly off. I had a big old knot on my head for like a week, and yeah, it was rough. Anyways, like I said, not an athlete. It's fine.
But I think a lot of people can relate with jiu-jitsu. Like, you know, they say a lot of like nerdy people or unathletic people are good at jiu-jitsu. I consider myself athletic, I think. I just couldn't perform in those other sports like I do here for some reason.
You said you like lifted and went to the gym and all those things. And I had times where I liked to do that, never ran track. Not gonna run unless someone's chasing me. But I liked lifting weights and things like that too. So I had little things that I enjoyed. But yeah, to your point, I think jiu-jitsu has such a mental game around it too. Not only like mental fortitude and just like pushing past your limits, but literal strategy of thinking through what's going on. And so it's not just who can run the fastest or who's the strongest or whatever. There's a real mental component, which I think makes people like me who are more of like a strategic thinker than any form of athlete whatsoever. It makes it interesting and fun.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's why I love jiu-jitsu so much. Like, jiu-jitsu is for everybody, but not everybody can do it. I think everybody has an opportunity to do jiu-jitsu, but just not everyone's gonna fit the mold of or like it in general, right? It's kind of like sweaty, getting tapped out.
Like a lot of people who end up in jiu-jitsu and just like contact sports like the combat type sports are people who just don't do well with team sports. You know what I mean? I was never a team sports type of person. You know what I mean? Do I like watching team sports? Yeah, sure. Like, but that's why I like boxing, skateboarding. Everything I did was like, it was always on me. You know what I mean? Like if I failed, it was because of me. It wasn't because of the rest of the team or, you know, someone dropped the ball or whatever. You know, that's kind of why I've always been.
Somebody got hit in the head with the
ball. Yeah, hit the head with the ball. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like why I think I gravitated towards it. And I think a lot of people have that same component in jiu-jitsu. They you can rely on yourself a lot more. You know what I mean? So Diego, what about you? When did you kind of get the bug for competing?
A month and a half.
Really?
A month and a half.
Crazy.
Like I said, I started January 3rd. My first competition was February 17th. I had no idea how to track points. I guess, you know, like a choke, right? A rear naked choke, but you really don't know how to apply it properly.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 16.
16.
16.
Okay.
16. So I was still in the teen division, white belt, a month and a half in. He was competing, so I'm like, can I? He's like, why not? He told me, get out there as early and often as possible if you want to be good. He's like, if you want to be good, you have to compete. Whether you win or lose, you learn. Right from the very beginning, he's like, he established it. Because for me, it was a little different, where when he was coming up, all the killers were there. They were competing. They were winning everything. But as I came in 5.5 years later, some were already gone, and now the new crew with like him, Chase, a bunch of the teammates that I rode with and came up with, they were dwindling out where he was. So he kind of took over the torch of competing for our team, him, Coach, Danielle, and then a couple of others. But I caught the bug immediately. So then it was, okay, a month later, compete. A month later, compete. I probably competed the most at white belt, really fast. And then I went and did white belt pans a year later, right, from beginning.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, I'm out in Cali. We're out of Dallas. It's my first out of Dallas tournament, right? It's not even like, okay, like he did. He went to Austin. right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm said, okay, I went from Dallas to let's go to California.
Yeah.
And it was different.
Yeah.
Luckily, our coach was there. I ended up taking third, and I cried, right?
Yeah.
I cried because I lost, and it was weird because I only lost one time before that as a white belt. So it was just, oh, winning, I can get used to this. And my brother's like, yeah, no, bro, you're not going to go undefeated.
Right.
I'm like, you think I could go undefeated at white belt? He's like, you have the possibility. He's like, the likelihood, not there. He's like, just being honest. He's like, it doesn't mean I don't believe in you. It's just, that's what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah. And you're taking a huge step. You know, that's pans. It's not like you're doing local Naga, you know what I mean?
And I forgot. So I went from teen. So the year you turn 18 is the year you're an adult for IBJJF. Right? So I'm 17 competing in the adult division.
18 to 30.
18 to 30, right? So, or I guess 17 to 30, right? Took home third. I had 3 matches. They were awesome. Then Worlds happened a couple months later. That still is, right? And it's crazy, right? 7 years later, my best and proudest moment in jiu-jitsu. They could say it's a novice world championship all they want. I don't care. I love it. I'm so happy. I ended up winning Worlds, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, like my brother said, I've never scored a goal either, right? I've only caught 1 touchdown pass because I played defense. Everything was defense, defense, defense. I was just a little guy who was always angry and aggressive, which is why I was somewhat good. And then I just knew the game of whatever sport I was playing. So, you know, we're built like horse jockeys where other people are built like real life jockeys, you know, like we need weights in our pockets to weigh ourselves. But, you know, once I came to jiu-jitsu, I'm like, whoa, you know, like you said, you're in my weight class, right? I don't have to worry about tackling a 200-pound 15-year-old when I could take on another, adult, but you're 135 pounds, 140 pounds, whatever it is. And after that, I caught the bug until about purple belt. And then I stopped competing a little bit. That's when I became an adult, you know, real world situations, bills, everything just went off from there,
Yeah. So you got the support, you got the origin story, talked about how you kind of started here in Grand Prairie. So let's take a deep dive now into kind of the philosophy and idea behind y'all's teaching here, like how the classes are structured.
Different than traditional and really just like most jiu-jitsu gyms out there. It's an entirely different approach.
Kind of the DFW pioneer on what's CLA and ecological, right? At least people who are doing it 100%. You know, I mean, there's some people that are
CLA stands for
constraints-led approach.
Thank you.
Right.
For our listeners.
Yes. CLA is the constraints-led approach. So give it your simplest definition for people who've never heard it before, don't know what the heck you're talking about. What is CLA, ecological training?
So I think a really, really simple way to put it is you give specific constraints to your athletes to get a specific effect out of them. That's bottom line, right? You constrain it to certain conditions as us coaches are the designers of the environment, and we're looking to get a specific outcome. So we're going to constrain it, kind of, if you want to put it like funnel it towards that outcome. However you get to it doesn't matter, but we're going to constrain you a certain way to get this effect. And as long as you can get to that effect, that's our super basic way to describe the constraint approach.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. And for everyone listening, I want y'all to understand, like here at Vasquez, they do 0 technique. It is 100% CLA, ecological. I feel like a lot of people, I explain this to them and they're like, how can you know technique? I mean, I understand the situational stuff, like that's good, but no technique? You never taught one person how to do an armbar? They just can't wrap their mind around it.
I've talked to people too who, exactly. They're like, it literally the idea of not ever teaching technique, period. They just literally don't understand how a gym can possibly function. Like, how can anybody possibly learn anything? I'm not saying I'm in that camp, but I've only done one of y'all's classes one time. So I'm very curious as well to hear like some of the more specific technique driven things that we would consider to be very technical, like what that looks like in y'all's training environment.
I mean, when I first heard about it, I was the same way. I was like, I drill all the time, and it worked for me. Like, what are you talking about? But then after doing the class over and over, I've been here many times, and I find a lot of things I never would have found otherwise. I mean, my personal camp, I like both. Y'all situations, I mean, first of all, I think y'all are going for the ecological approach only. Like, that's what y'all want. But also, y'all have an hour time slot. Like, you want to get the most out of it. So that makes perfect sense. You have these guys come in. I'll let y'all kind of explain, like, why don't y'all go ahead and break down what is the class structure like for no technique? What is it like? Right when you come in, you have everybody line up, everyone bows in, bam, what's kind of the start?
So we try to break it down into different games, right? We call them games, you can call them drills. Again, we come in, we bow in, we don't do any warm-ups. We do our first game, which is a typically standing game, a takedown, foot sweep, but we still put constraints, right? We could start in the over-under position. Okay, both partners have to get to the back with the body lock, right? Or some type of connection around your opponent's body, whether it's the leg, arm, head, and arm, whatever it may be.
Can you explain for those who might not know what an over-under position is?
It feels weird explaining it without showing it, right? So it's one arm under the armpit, and your partner has one arm under the armpit, so we're hugging the arm. So we would want to get both our arms under the armpit.
So like the double underhooks completely underneath the armpits to connect, like a chest to
chest.
It
doesn't need to be a double under, as long as I have a looping connection around any part of their body. It could be their head and arm. It could be the leg. It could be the body lock, but from the side, right? So it's just the reaction your partner is giving me, I'm going for whatever is the easiest to get to, right? And then we always do some type of pinning and some type of guard work. If you want to elaborate on what games we do, go ahead.
Yeah, so like it depends, right? Some days, like Diego said, we do standing, pinning, passing, because I think it's important because a lot of gyms, they're gonna deep dive De La Hiva for a month.
Yeah.
They're gonna deep dive half guard for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they don't touch any takedowns for months, or they don't touch on back control, right? So people are gonna a lot of times store these things in like long-term memory, and then it's hard for them to recall what they've learned if it's not like fresh in their head.
Yeah.
So we try to touch on the full phase of the jiu-jitsu, because like I'm gonna rant slightly, right? What the thing is, what is fundamentals? And everyone's gonna have a different answer. What is fundamentals to jiu-jitsu? People are gonna say, oh, it's close guard, bump sweep. Oh, it's a kimura. Oh, it's a hip escape from side control. But to me, to us, fundamentals is, can you play the game? What is the game? There's standing, there's pinning involved. So can you pin the human? Can you escape? And then passing a guard, and can you create a guard? Those are kind of there's so many spider webs you can go from those basic levels, but I think those are fundamental. Our goal is to get you to play the game as fast as possible, and then we'll get to the technique from there.
That's an interesting way to put it, because that's one thing that I've noticed, and I hate to see with like brand new people who walk in the door on their very first day. And I've always said that it's a struggle, because normally and this is at our gym and most gyms, right? They're teaching some sort of technique, and so they'll kind of learn what we're learning. But like you said, that's just one piece. And so it takes time for them to put enough of the pieces together that when it gets to the end of the class and it's like, okay, we're going to roll, and they're like, I only know how to break out of closed guard because that's what I learned today. But when you start standing, they're like, I don't know, I don't know what to do. So it takes time for them to even be able to go through a roll. And so with people like that, when I end up rolling with brand new people, I feel like we don't really roll. I end up sitting and talking with them and kind of explaining, trying to kind of explain what their objective is. Like, you're trying to get past my legs, and like, this is so that they have a baseline to even do a roll. And yeah, that's just a challenge that it comes cyclically. Like we'll get to a point where you'll learn X, Y, Z, but until then, you just take the baby steps and until all the puzzle pieces start to fit together. So it's an interesting concept to hear, like from day one, the point is that they learn how to do the entire thing. So even if they don't feel like they know a lot, they could roll day one and kind of feel like they at least know what their objective is. They're going to get
From
lost,
all
obviously,
different
but
angles, right? Not just from the closed guard.
they can start standing and actually go through a roll and at least have kind of an idea of what they're trying to do.
Yes.
You know?
And we pretty much explain it like, how do you explain jiu-jitsu to a friend who's never trained before, right? Hey, we start on our feet. Your objective is to take them down, to get around their legs, to try to get your chest to their chest, isolate a limb, and try to tap them out.
Without using a bunch of technical words.
Right.
Yeah, without using
Right, without saying you have to Toriano pass, to go to knee on belly, to go to mount, right? It's a bunch of gibberish.
Yeah.
So that's what we do, right? And that's how we coach. It's like, hey, you come in, we're gonna show you some different options, but we're gonna allow you to use your creativity. And that's why we put the constraints. So now you have to think outside the box. Coach said I can't grab here, so I could grab here and here. Okay, cool, right? So you're thinking outside the box where, Bailey, like you said, you go into the closed guard. I may have showed you the steps, but you messed up one of my steps by moving my hand.
And now I have nothing.
Right?
Everything just fell apart.
Yeah, so it's like the 5-step armbar. How often have you hit a 5-step armbar?
Yeah.
I've been training for 8 years and it's probably less than a handful.
Yeah.
My brother, I don't know about him, but it's probably the same thing, right? So that's why we love the ecological, CLA, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get into any debates right now. That's why it's important. Hey, before they get into the rounds and just doing the drills, they already know what it feels like to roll. We started out on our feet. Oh, I took you down. Okay, now the next game, transitions. Oh, when I get taken out, I landed here. Now I have to defend here from the bottom. What can I do? Hey, we want to get underneath them. Hey, we could do this or this to help, right? It's not like we don't help with coaching. We just give you the constraints. That looks messy. You got to work on that. No, we help, we coach. It's just our coaching is a little bit different, right? It's based off your individual needs. We see, hey, try this, right? We're never going to say, Wes, that don't work. That's never going to work.
Try something else.
Or please try this, right, Bailey? Please try this. My infamous please.
I'm going to ask you about that later on. So,
Definitely. So that's another reason why we liked it. And then it's also because my brother mainly, when he was there, he had nothing but white belts to roll with, right? So if you have a white belt on someone's back with a fully locked up rear naked choke, because this is how we started at first, because we didn't know.
Yeah.
He had to get out or I had to get out while they learn how to finish the squeeze, right? Or we get put in an armbar. Hey, just control the armbar. Of course, if it hurts, you tap, right? But you just have your partner. Hey, just control, follow them. Where they move, you move. Partner in the armbar. If you're uncomfortable, just tap. So it's easy to teach submissions. All you know is the invariance doesn't change. You need a what under the arm? A lever, right? It could be on the hip. It could be your own arm. It could be your forearm. Your thigh. The thigh, everything's just going. So it's awesome.
So you do your 3 or 4 games, right? 3 or 4 games, kind of change. Is it usually 3 or usually 4?
Typically 3.
Typically 3. And then you go, in the rounds, right? 4 rounds?
4 6-minute rounds.
Okay. Yeah, I really like it because it gets, like the way you do it, it's not filled with warm-ups and it's not real slow. It's a right to action, right? So you're essentially getting, like if you do 3 and then 4, you get like 7 rounds in. Essentially. So
you play the games for 6 minutes, right?
So it's a
5.
4 to 6.
Depending on what we want to work on or.
Okay.
Hey, 6 minutes. I want to make you work.
And
right?
it's important to understand, like who are listening to this, it's not like you're drilling a technique when you're doing this. I mean, you're not going slow. You're like, it's a real fight, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes when people who never heard it before, maybe they were like a brown belt already, and they're trying this, you know, for the first time, they're like moving really slow through the motions. I'm like, attack the guy. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like, it's 100%. You just have constraints, like things that you cannot do and things you can do.
It kind of like positional, like if you were to start in a certain position, but y'all can tell me if I'm wrong or expound upon what I'm saying. But it's like positional, starting in a certain position, but you have certain, like you said, constraints, certain things you can or can't do, and then also a point at which it stops, and then you reset. So
I think it's important to like, the reason why it's so different is like the constraints pull out what you're trying to find out of the person that you're teaching. You know what I mean?
100%.
So for the ones listening, like, I had someone tell me, like, how would you even, if you don't teach the armbar correctly with the right steps and know, like, this needs to go here and that needs to go there, how can you ever teach someone to do an armbar? So explains the armbar is pretty digestible for almost anybody who's starting jiu-jitsu, right? Like from white to black. Any armbar from any position, from their back or from closed guard. If you wanted to teach someone an armbar without teaching them the steps to an armbar, what would you do for the beginning class, or for that class or the week?
So that's the easy one, because we've been describing the armbar for 2 years now. Like, I love talking about the armbar. Now we've recently, you did the class with the back attacking, but for the armbar, right? People get mad at the ecological people, CLA people, for using certain words, but it's just like jiu-jitsu. Hey, that's a cool omoplata. What the heck is omoplata? You know what I mean? It's like, you got to learn the language in jiu-jitsu. You got to learn the language with this. And ecological applies to many sports. So that's why it doesn't always make sense to people. But, okay. So like, right, an invariant just means things that have to kind of be present for your perception to pick up, right? And so there's an invariant is like a lever on the elbow.
Things that never change, right?
Things that don't change. You need a lever on the elbow. And a lot of times people are like, the detail is this and this. But in an armbar, there's a lot of skills besides just the finishing mechanics. There's like the control, the breaking apart of the hands, the pinning the person on the ground. All those skills are going to be developed through your perception, maybe you have really big thighs and it's easy for you to cover someone's face. Maybe you're thin like me and you have to find a way, how can I keep this person pinned? Right? You're in an armbar, like, one skill is just getting the hands apart, right? You can drill, okay, step one, I'm gonna push here, I'm gonna grab, I'm gonna lean back, and I'm gonna get the finish. Well, what if they grab their elbow? What if they grab on the inside of their thigh? What if they grab on the inside of their sleeve? What if they grab their lapel? There's so many variables to his control that's what we want as coaches. Give me a lot of variables, because at the end of the day, the outcome is the same. I have to get these hands apart. So this person has no fear of getting their arm broken, and my only objective is get the hands apart. So they're finding a way to keep their hands locked, and they don't have to worry about their arm getting broken, so they can hyper-focus on this. It improves their skill of keeping their hands together and improves my skill of, maybe I use my legs, maybe I push on his face, maybe I grab his arm. Maybe I stick my foot in between his legs and, oh, I got it apart. Yes. And so there's like little psychological things that happen when you're able to accomplish a task, right? If you fail a lot of times, you're going to feel like you're not good at something. So a lot of times you're going to drill how to do an armbar. Okay, rounds. Dang, I couldn't get any arm bars. And you walk out defeated, like, maybe you're not good at jiu-jitsu. And then it does take time. But here you get these little wins that are real. You really had to work towards this goal. It's not like, so how was work today? Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm going to make some chicken Alfredo for lunch. And you're just like talking through this. So there's no like critical thinking going on. There's no problem solving. That's the problem a lot of times. We want to be fed answers. But then I like to use Wes as an example, like, right, class is an hour, and I want everyone to get the most out of it, but a lot of people are hobbyists. So I have to create an environment where you're gonna learn and you're gonna get the most out of it. But not everyone is a self-learner where they're gonna like go home and study and drill and do these extra things that typically separate you from the pack. Wes is one of them. Me and my brother are like that, right? We have teammates. Once they leave the gym, they don't really watch film, and that's okay. That's okay. No, that's okay. But typically, who are the people that progress the fastest? They're the ones that are like constantly problem solving, constantly thinking about it. And we think this teaching environment, whether you like it or not, you're gonna problem solve. And again, we're not gonna just figure it out, right? But we're gonna put you in a scenario where, like with the CLA, with a lot of the literature, there has to be a failure in passing percentage. Like you want in the medium, right? 50 to 80% that you're accomplishing your task. If you're not accomplishing it enough, then that task is too hard. So you got to scale it down. So it's all about scaling with CLA. If it's too easy, you're just boom, 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 winning. There's not a lot of learning happening. You got to scale it up. You got to add an extra layer to that. That's the real science to CLA. That's what separates it from positional, because a lot of times people are like, oh, that's positional. We've been doing positional. But they believe the skill is being built with drilling, and then you're doing positional to make sure you have the skill.
Right.
Yeah.
We believe the skill is built in the live environment, in the task.
Well, and I was going to piggyback on what you said about somebody feeling like defeated because they didn't have any wins or they didn't get a skill. But I also think that another problem, a different problem that is also a problem that CLA can fix is feeling like you did get it during drills.
Yes.
I got it. Oh, this is easy. You know, I totally nailed that. I'm going to use it all the time. And then you try to hit it in a live roll and you can't hit it. And it's like, I thought I had it. It was great. I was doing great during drills. I had it down perfectly. But in a live environment, it's different. And yeah, either that can be defeating or you end up just throwing out the skill altogether because you're like, well, I couldn't get it, or that doesn't work, or, you know, whatever. So I think that happens just as often in a technique or drilling environment where, yeah, you're like, I got it. And then in a live roll situation, it feels entirely different. You're not actually able to execute what you learned.
You freak out, or I've seen people having anxiety attacks because they're like, what do? And they just, you know, it's tough. It is tough. But, and here you go at your own pace. Like Wes said, you know, we don't go 100%. We say, hey, pace yourself, you know. You know, of course, Wes has been here enough where he's like, all right, cool, I'm good. I could go at my pace, 100% as often as I want.
Especially like for the newer guys, more talking, but like the guys, competitive guys, like they're treating it like it's the last 4 rounds, right? But no, yeah, 100% what you're saying.
So then it goes to what my brother's scale it. Hey, you know what? You're 65. We're gonna have to scale it just a little bit. Yeah, but
100%.
a lot of the times they're the ones who don't cry and complain.
Yeah.
What else you want me to do? Perfect. You know, so it's awesome seeing what the CLA can do for all ages and levels.
That's a question I get a lot too, is like, how can you teach the CLA approach to someone who's like brand new off the street? They're like, I mean, I could see you doing fundamentals to those guys and then bringing in the CLA later, but
That's the thing, like, what are fundamentals? I'm not picking up, but it's like, what is a fundamental?
I typically like to tell people, I actually kind of think that it's best for the person who's brand new off the street. It gets them right there, getting the action and giving them tasks. It's having them figure, like you're telling them based off the constraints, you know, and it's not like you just like don't explain anything either whenever you're showing these positions. You're like giving them examples, like if you're playing a closed guard game, you might show them a few sweeps, you know, stuff like that. And it gets them right in the action, you know, or off the bat, instead of like Bailey was saying, where they drill this one technique. Now go out there and do whatever you don't know how to do. Just try to find that one technique, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's really good for the person who's brand new off the street.
And it's not more so teaching them or showing them a sweep, it's how to get a sweep. Hey, you know, if we're playing a specific game and their hands on the mat, let's remove the post you want to go to that side to, right? We do show them, but hey, this is why
Yeah.
we're moving this post. It's not
Conceptual
Yeah, it's not
part of
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Same
It's,
concepts.
And like you said, examples. I mean, when I did, y'all gave examples. These are different ways that this could possibly look. But as long as you get to X results, then you're good, you know?
I think it also puts a lot of pressure on the coach, but I think if, I help teach some of the kids classes at our gym, and like today, we do it's more like a lot of the competition kids are in the class, and we do it's eco-only class that we do, and I come up with all the games for the Friday class, and it's a lot of fun to recognize a problem that everyone's having, whether it be in competition, throughout the week or whatever, and you get to build a game around their weaknesses. You know what I mean? Like one game that I do for the gi classes for the kids, I noticed that when they're playing De La Riva, we play a lot of De La Riva, the top player will control the free foot, the one that's sometimes on the foot, not the De La Riva. They'll control it, and they'll like just be here controlling it and moving it around, and the other person never breaks the grip. Right? So what I'll do is I'll start the person with the ankle, and I tell them your job is to control this no matter what. You can sit on it, you can do anything with it, you control it. And now the bottom player, you're number one, you're allowed to sweep. You're allowed to do anything you want after you break the grip. So you have to prioritize breaking that grip before anything. And now I also throw this caveat in there. If you can figure out a way to make them let go of the grip without breaking it, i.e. pulling them and off balancing them, then you got their hand off your foot. You cannot sweep unless that hand is off your foot. Now, and I go into deeper stuff than I could go in deeper, but that's kind of the idea behind it. And then that's what I love about it, I do love teaching techniques too, because sometimes things click that the person never saw before. I'm not completely against drilling a technique, but I do see tons of gains in doing a game like that. And it's fun for the coach, you know what I mean?
And I'll say, like, we came up drilling. So to say it doesn't work would be just not true. I mean, it does work. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of practitioners around the world that have drilled and got competent at jiu-jitsu. But I think a lot of that competency came from, there's a state, like, we're good at jiu-jitsu on accident. Because like karate and a lot of these other martial arts that don't live spar as much as jiu-jitsu rely on a lot of katas, and so they've gotten watered down. That's why they make fun of those martial arts sometimes, unfortunately, because it's like on accident for us. Fortunately, we live grapple whether you drill or not every class, so you're problem solving within that rounds. But you can drill. The whole point of CLA is attunement process, right? It's like the environment and the practitioner are intertwined. It never disconnects. The skill lives in the environment that you're doing. And so when you drill a lot, it just focuses your attention to what you're trying to do. So when your attention is attuned, then you're applying it in the live scenario and you're building that skill in the live environment because of the attunement process. The attunement focuses your attention, and then your intentions are driven through your attention. So if you like to hit a berimbolo weight or sweep a lot, your intentions start to go that route. And in live rounds, they backstepped, so then I was able to catch the calf, and the process continues. And you tinker and go back and forth. So to me, it's all live work, but the drilling kind of laser focuses your intentions. And kind of like, we were saying, as long as you get it, right? A lot of these theories come from like really smart scientists that are way smarter than us, right? There's a old school Soviet Russian scientist named Nikolai Bernstein, and he has this thing where he says repetition without repetition. So can you repeat the outcome without necessarily repeating the steps to get there? And that's like a big thing for us. Can you repeat the outcome without necessarily having to get there? So like we start him in De La Riva. Your job is to get your partner to their hip, right? They're gonna kick the foot out. They're gonna overhead sweep. They're gonna sit up sweep and push them back. There's so many ways to accomplish that. As long as they're getting there, that's what's important. Some people are round and short. Some people are tall and long. Some people are skinny and short. You have all these builds, and that's why all these different black belts have different games. And not every game is gonna work for that person. But there's conceptual invariants that are true. And as long as the practitioner understands these things, the techniques start to show up. And then, so I'm not against technique either, but the technique comes to me after the relationship of the environment.
For sure. Yeah, I see it with different body types sometimes at the gym. I was actually working with some friends of mine today, and their body types, they're, they're bigger than I am, taller, stronger, bigger than me. So when I show them some of my escapes, like, it's not working. Why is it not working? You know what I mean? And then I had them do.
Tiny.
Yeah, I'm a lot. The body type is different, and I can weasel in and out of positions that
Me too.
most people can't, And so then I had them do an ecological drill, and their sons do jiu-jitsu at our gym, and they've seen the ecological approach and the CLA approach and all that, but they had never experienced it. They're new blue belts, brand new blue belts. And so I had them kind of working through that and showed them, and instead of just drilling a technique, and they were getting a really good cardio workout in it right off the bat. They were like, man, I feel like I've done 3 rounds already. And it was, like 2 minutes of one eco drill, and so they were learning right off the bat. And so it's good to see it works for all different types of people, I mean, I'm sure y'all have seen you learn this one technique and it's like, I'm not hitting it. I don't understand. I just can't even get my leg in that position. It's impossible.
Like me and you are gonna K guard to matrix to the back.
Yeah, exactly.
But someone who's like 240 pounds, 6'4",
Good
probably.
freaking luck.
Yeah,
Not happening.
I don't know how many times I've said my body does not bend that way.
Yeah, you know what I
I'm
mean.
sorry,
So,
it's not gonna happen.
like, and right, I don't want to take too much of Diego's talking time, but like, right, a lot of times people want to design eco games off of technique.
Yeah.
And we did that at the beginning. How do we make a game out of hip bump sweep? I couldn't get my head around that. That's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is like off balancing.
Yeah.
And once we went away from that, the kids are hitting hip bump sweeps. Now they're doing hip bump sweeps without them even knowing it's a hip bump sweep. But we were like, okay, you have to. It just was a mess. It just didn't work.
It's about being so creative. It's hard, but I run into it too, and I want to find this really specific reaction or thing,
Yes.
and without teaching them the technique. And so you have to be really creative on how you create that game. And sometimes you walk away going, God, that was a failure.
Yeah,
I did not get what I wanted out of that.
not work.
But then when you do, it is so fulfilling. You're like, that's exactly what it's supposed to look like.
Yes.
Thank you.
But you have to remind yourself, and the good thing, Gayle, you're gonna have to remind Wes as well. We have each other. Is learning's messy. Learning is messy. He's like, hey, bro, how'd you think? I didn't like it. I'm like, no, it's okay. Learning's messy. There's a few things we need to tweak. Let's see if we can tweak it. Let's do the game again.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of doing the next game, hey, we're gonna run it back. We're in a culture of perfect. But, but world is going on right now. You go look at it, there's still shots of perfect, but it's a very messy, chaotic, dynamic dance that's going on. And it's not this beautiful step, it's like chaos.
Yeah.
And that's learning.
And I like to call it, a lot of people call it in the CLA approach, the gray area skills.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the controlling of the position of the armbar. You know what I mean? And if you go watch like what you're talking about, all that chaos, a lot of those guys, they're extremely skilled at the gray area skills. You know what I mean? That's why you'll get taught a technique and they're like, it probably won't look just like this when you do the sweep.
Always.
Well, that's why, because it's the gray area skills that you got to build the skill at. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's a really good example. Watching the highest level black belts, their gray area skills are super high level. You know what I mean?
And they drill, but how many times a day do they train?
Yeah, a lot.
Right? They may have a morning, they will drill light training, and then a tough night class. Right? So you're telling me you're only really drilling once throughout the day, and then what you're doing is CLA for what, right? Because for the most part, higher levels, it gets closer to the competition. I have this game I'm gonna do. You're putting constraints on yourself.
Yeah.
You're still training twice, right? You're rolling. That's what constraint-led approach is, right? That's what the ecological dynamics is. You're learning by training with repetition without repetition, right? Live. That's how we learn. That's why people always say, man, I always learn the most from what? Rolling. Or competing. Right? Because it's what? Live.
Yeah.
Right? Just like the arm bars we're talking about, the highest levels of black belts, are you gonna crank on it as hard as you can and tell me, hey, step 1, step 2? No, I'm gonna move, I'm gonna turn, right? You can't teach that. You can't. Hold it, don't finish it, find a way out, right? The way the high level black belts do it is just more rounds, more competitions,
they fail a bunch of times.
Exactly.
And they realize.
And understand, oh, I can't go there, right? That's why we believe in it so much, because it's everywhere, right? It doesn't say or scream CLA, CLA, but we see it. We know that's CLA.
Yeah.
You could only do that because of CLA.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And to your point too, you know, trial and error, trying different things. You can obviously do that in just a straight up live roll, but like Weslee and I were talking once before and told him, like, you can try really hard in a live roll to go after a certain technique that you want to hit or whatever, but at the end of the day, you can't control what they do. You can't control their reactions. You can't control the entirety of that roll. So as much as you say, oh, I've been working this and I really want to try it and I really want to hit this in a roll, you cannot guarantee that you're going to end up in the situation to be able to try and execute that skill. So you can try and try and try, but at some point you're at the mercy of whatever role you're in to be able to try certain skills that you've been wanting to work on and want to improve on, versus in a CLA situation where you're intentionally put into that situation over and over again so that you have time to trial and error it, versus, you know, oh, I tried it tonight, oh, it didn't work. I may not get to try that again for another week or two because the situation just didn't allow for it. You know?
Yeah, like you might hit an arm bar, you might get to an arm bar, right? You're a white belt, and you might not hit that arm bar again for weeks, like you just said. That's so true. That's like a great point you just made. So I agree wholeheartedly on that.
One thing I feel like with the drilling for me, I made the comment about how like I think it's most beneficial for the brand new people right off the bat to do CLA than the opposite, and then introduce doing some drilling. And the reason why I think that is because me specifically, and it could be just me, but I think there's some positions in jiu-jitsu where you're like upside down and you're like, I think it's like the term I've recently heard is invisible jiu-jitsu, or like where you like, well, the way Trent explained it to me is like you're putting pressure somewhere, right? But you don't quite, I don't really remember exactly how he explained it, but I understood the gist of it. Like you're upside down and you're grabbing the hip and it's far over here, but you know it's there, but you can't see it. So I drill the position so I can get familiar with the way the body mechanics are, you know? So that's why I think it's important.
That's fair, because I don't have any of that. And how many times have I said in certain situations, like, y'all, I struggle with a berimbolo because, especially like from quarter guard, because if I can't see the part of my body that's doing something, I don't know what's happening. And heaven forbid that my feet be all tangled up with someone else's feet. I don't know which foot is my foot and which foot is their foot. I can't feel it for nothing.
That's true. That's why I said that. I think for me, it's like, I'll go and like, I'm working on a lot of duck under stuff right now to crab ride, and like just understanding where to grab the hip when I'm upside down and this and that. Would it be better if it's in a live situation? I would like if someone could put me in that position, but like nobody's working that game at my gym right now. You know what I mean? So I have to drill it myself, understand the position, understand what to grab and grip. And then I have to essentially CLA it whenever I'm at the gym. I have to get myself to that position, and then I can work off the reactions. But at least when I go there, I've drilled it a little bit. So now I'm familiar with what I need to grab, you know, and I'm not completely upside down and lost.
Well, now you could start with those grips and then, hey, person, I'm gonna try to take your back. You either gotta break the grips, turn and face, or completely disengage. Right. So whatever
you need a willing partner.
you have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would have to.
Tough.
And a lot of people are like, I'm trying to roll right now.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you take my back.
That's
You know what I mean?
the tough part. You just need a willing partner, but you could CLA berimbolo.
Oh no, you for sure can CLA it.
I could be here and like we start in the inversion and the hip. Your job is to get your hips in your partner's hip in front of your hips, and then people are like, "Oh, I did it." But on the drilling part, I do agree. I think we don't do it here, but something that's really foreign that doesn't make sense, like a berimbolo, maybe like a K guard, maybe an omoplata. What does it feel like? Yeah. What is this? Okay, but to drill it for 3 rounds, 6 minutes, I think
for 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks, I don't think that's necessary. Yeah. You do it a little bit. You get it? Yeah. Cool. Okay, now we're gonna start here. Yeah. Let's go. That's exactly
why I say I think it's more beneficial to the practitioner that's been doing it a little bit longer, because they can pick it up like that. Once you get in the position, start feeling it. Okay, I'll CLA it. We can put me right in the position, and I'm familiar with it. But you put someone who's fresh off the street upside down in a berimbolo, the learning curve is going to be a lot higher, I feel like, than if they had done a considerable amount of CLA, for a couple months or whatever. I mean, you could do it, you know what I mean? But I feel like the fruit you'll bear will be better if they've had some experience already doing CLA. But yeah, so what?
Put me on my head. I feel like I'm in a hamster wheel. Woo! Put me in a dryer.
Not everyone can do berimbolos, and that's okay. That's what we're like so in love with CLA. It's like,
It's the moral of this podcast, everyone. Not everybody can do berimbolos.
yes,
And that is okay.
yes,
my motto from
100%.
now on.
It's okay. Like Hodger Gracie won 8 world titles without ever rolling on his back. He closed guard, fundamentals, but he did it at the highest level and destroyed everybody because it's what his body type. He's 6'4" and
8 division titles,
he destroyed everyone.
13, 14 total.
So just everyone's gonna have a specific game.
Yeah.
And that's the CLA is like get you playing the game really fast. You kind of know conceptually what needs to be done, and then people start to, right? Someone likes deep half, someone likes berimbolo, someone likes spider guard. And then eventually, we're still so new, the goal with CLA and our classes, like we have days, okay, you're gonna design your own game today. You gotta work. And so that would be a perfect situation. I'm working leg drag. So your partner has no choice because you're both have to design your own game that day. We haven't done it yet, but that's where we're going towards. Where
I've heard about that. Greg does that, doesn't he?
Yeah, the autonomy starts to build within the culture of like people want to learn, and it's not like, Mr. Black Belt, give me more techniques. I hate that. Like I do know a lot. We do know a lot, but I want you guys to be self-learners.
It puts a little pressure on them to like pay attention to what is giving you problems.
Yes.
Like what guard, what position, whatever. It's giving you problems. Let's figure out, have you think about it too, so you can find it in live roles, and you can CLA it yourself sometimes in live roles, and then we can create it. You can create a game around it. That's really cool.
And that's where we're going towards. Is like everyone's on the same page. Everyone kind of knows how to design a game. Then we're looking across the room, and everybody's doing different things, and they're not a clone of me and Diego. So.
Well, I feel like we did a really good job of kind of breaking down the nuts and bolts of what CLA is, like really kind of compacting on it and talking about it. What made y'all decide to go CLA? Like you said, you came from 100% technique driven, like every day, warm-ups, all that. What was the decision? What was the factor? Yeah?
Yeah.
You just did research and...
He found it.
Really?
I don't know where.
So, right, we had the gym. We had the gym idea. And at the same time, and everything just happens for a reason, things just kind of land the way they're supposed to. Greg's team, the Corby brothers and DeAndre's wife, Alex, were doing really good. And they were interviewing them. They're like, I think they interviewed Alex. She's like, I don't know, it's called ecological. Yeah, Greg knows more about it. I was like, and then I just went down a rabbit hole. Just like reading, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense, but they're doing really good, so maybe there's something to this. And I think at the time Greg already had some videos of like explaining what it was. I'm like, oh, kind of like positional, right? Same thing. Yep. So we wanted to be different too. We're opening a gym. How can we separate ourselves from the crowd? And also, I hate warm-ups. Purple belt people, you just show up late and that was me. I'm sorry, Mr. Alvarez. He was on my butt about being late all the time. Thank you for not punishing me, but I just would hate warm-ups. I don't want to shrimp. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 10 years. I'm not going to shrimp. I don't want to shrimp anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to shoulder roll.
I don't want to break fall.
I don't want to break fall.
Our professor hates warm-ups too. I think it's a waste of time.
Against warm-ups also, yeah.
And that's good. I think I had blinders. I thought everybody did that. So when I try not to generalize that everybody does warm-ups. So I'm kind of okay. Not everybody does, but I don't like warm-ups.
And I would say that's the norm. Yeah.
Majority maybe, right?
I think
some type of push-ups or exercise movement.
Of all the gyms I've cross-trained at and done classes, I literally think ours and y'all's. I've been at this many gyms, I can't think of another one that didn't do a some kind of
I
warm
love
up.
that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then I'm also being selfish, right? At the time, I'm a black belt. I don't want to do a 5-step armbar. I don't want to do 5-step armbar. I don't want to do something that's not really specific to my game.
Yep.
And so all these little things with like, okay, this is cool. We're gonna start a gym in the garage. Let's just go for it. I think we're onto something. He's always really receptive to it. He never.
Yeah, I was like, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, he's just like, let's do it.
Yeah, nice.
And
Love
he's
that.
not a big reader. He's more of an audiobook guy. So I was like,
my
let
guy.
me read. Yeah.
That's my guy.
I'm like, granted, it takes me a really long time because I start to fall asleep. So I have to like,
My kind of guy.
yeah, just a few pages at a time before it's like, I could be 11:30 at work and I'm like nodding off. So anyways, it took me a while to digest information, read, and experiment. Luckily, we're a brand new gym, so our students had no concept of what is a traditional gym.
Right.
All they know is what we do.
Yeah.
So we're it's not like we're an established gym. Guys, we're gonna start ecological. And they're like,
totally new.
yeah, they're like, well,
Yeah.
I like drilling, coach.
That's hard. It presents a lot of problems to try to introduce something new and take all technique away.
Yeah.
It's hard because you got a lot of people, older guys, stuck in their ways, and they don't want to change.
Exactly.
And that's fine. That's fine.
Did you have a lot of like, most of the people who came right out the gate to your gym, were they brand new to jiu-jitsu, or did you have a lot of people who, like, did you have very many who transitioned from other gyms? I mean, I know a few, but
1, 2, 3. We had like 4.
so you had like a handful of people.
The
who
very
had done
beginning,
something
they had
different.
some type of experience, except for one person, and that was Kevin.
Yeah, the very beginning.
first person.
Because they're like, hey, you open a gym, we're gonna sign up. Oh, Ricardo came over.
Oh, Ricardo, yes.
But then after, even up until this day, I think like a few are experienced from a previous school, and everyone.
Your family.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think one other person, Glenn.
Yeah.
The
Pretty much
Parker
everybody
bunch,
brand-
and then two other people.
That's one thing I love though too. Whenever I have brought friends over to the gym and they roll with some of the guys who have gotten their blue belts recently, I'm like, you realize that guy has literally never drilled a technique once. Did pretty good, didn't he? Did really good actually, right? And you're like, dang, he's never drilled a technique, never even drilled an armbar, never even drilled an armbar. You know, and I'm like, see, this stuff works really good, you know. So I think it's always kind of like a feather in the cap for y'all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like we say it all the time, right? We throw names out there, but we would just point at someone. Yeah, they never drilled. And Greg Souders, I met. Right, he's like, to me, he's the pioneer of CLA. There's other guys, but I learned about it through him. I met him at Nogi Worlds 2023, and I was like, hey, Greg, I'm a big fan. Like, any words of advice? He's like, do it. Don't care what anyone says. If they like it, they'll leave. The ones that like it, stay, and they'll come. And I took that. I was like, okay, they don't like it. Oh, well. But we're going to be receptive to everyone. And he's like, just not everyone's going to like it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like not everyone can do a Berimbolo. Not everyone's going to like CLA. And he's like, that's okay. Just do you, right? Be a good person, right? That kind of stuff. And people will come. And I was
Well, and CLA or not, I mean, every gym is like that. Like certain gyms are, or even among a whole bunch of gyms that are doing technique. That, you know, there's different things that are going to make a gym a good fit for one person. It's not a good fit for somebody else. So I don't think that even CLA or not is like that one differentiator. That's, you know,
It's the environment.
exactly.
It's
It's
the
just,
environment. It's the environment.
and every environment's different. And, you know, for some people it'll work and some people it won't, for this gym or any other jiu-jitsu gym, you know.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what y'all's week structure is like. So just as far as y'all do gi, y'all do no gi, y'all do both. What do you expect from your students? Do you expect them to do both? Do they need to be doing both to get promoted? And how does that kind of work?
So we have classes every day out of the week except for Sunday. Sunday is just open mat. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, gi. Friday, no gi. Once we get 10 consistent, we'll open up Monday through Friday. Then it'll be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, gi. And then Tuesday, Thursday, no gi. Same thing with my 11 o'clock class that I have going on every Tuesday and Thursday. They're no gi. I try to keep it with the schedule we have with the night class. So it keeps it easy for laundry day, of course. And then Monday, Wednesday night, gi. Tuesday, Thursday night, no gi. Friday is our judo class with Coach Trent. And then Saturday, we've been alternating gi and no gi, but we recently just decided to just stick with gi. Just because
Get her to come more often.
get baby to come more often. And we love both.
Yeah.
We truly enjoy both. We compete in both. We require at least one gi class a week. If not, we won't promote you. We're not super traditional, as you see, right, with the CLA and then just everything we do, our logos. But we always want to make sure at least one gi class a week. We don't do promotions in no-gi uniforms, which he might want to change. Again, non-traditional, right? Good or bad, indifferent. Other than that, yeah, at least 2 to 3 days a week, consistent if you want to get promoted. We don't require anyone to compete, but we do recommend it. Something we've definitely been talking about is you need to at least compete once between white and brown belt, right? Or before you get your black. So that's anywhere from 8 to 12 years where you have at least one time where you need to compete. But other than that, we're pretty far away from that, right? But yeah, those are pretty simple. Your training is really in your hands with everything. We're the only school in GP that has a 6 a.m. class, right? Now we're gonna be one of the only schools in the area that has a lunch class, right? So little by little, my brother has helped. He's like, all right, cool. You go full time first, right? So now our availability is just gonna skyrocket.
For sure, yeah. Man, I've been noticing those classes have been growing like crazy. I'm always so happy to see new faces in all the classes. And I feel like in the beginning, y'all didn't have it. It wasn't on maps, so you couldn't find it. You know what I mean? And I know that seems so simple and like it wouldn't be that big of a draw, but everybody's looking on maps or whatever to find. That's how I found our gym. And then people just type in karate or they type in martial arts, and you come up on that. Then man, you're just gonna. And then all the foot traffic and all the drive by, dude. Y'all,
Big logo.
yeah, man. And then now you have all this extra space. Like that's one thing we haven't even really touched on much. I won't go too deep into it just because the time on the podcast. But we have had. I mean, y'all had just 2 lanes of space. It's just 2 little lanes that went. I mean, what would you say?
Probably about 12 feet.
Yeah, 12 feet wide
by 40
feet long, and it'd be packed mats, like a sauna in there, man. It was cool. I'm glad to say that I was a part of it, before y'all opened up. Like it's really cool because now y'all got this awesome space in here. It's huge, wide open. You don't feel like you're dying in a sauna, but you still feel like you're dying. But no, so I mean, y'all definitely have done some really good things since y'all started. So super, super cool. Kind of moving on. I'm gonna kind of skip past. I had some plans to talk to you about some competition stuff, deeper, but we've been so in on the CLA,
we're in on it.
dude, and that's how
Part
it's supposed to go. We want to have other stuff to talk about, so we can have a part 2. So, kind of tell me to I wouldn't say this is quite the closeout, but tell me how has the eco and the CLA approach changed your view of competition? Like, has it affected competition at all for your students that have been competing? For instance, Trent, do you think that have you noticed any habits that he had before he started doing CLA that y'all have had to break and then move that into competition? It was any type of benefit? Has there been any relationship at all between that?
Please put Trent on blast.
Oh yeah, sorry.
There's always gonna be habits from Trent. Okay? No, from everyone, right?
Yeah.
There's always gonna be bad
Using
habits.
that as an example. He's my cousin. You know what I mean?
For sure, right? Trent's was turtle.
It's a judo thing.
Right? Right? Because you don't want to be on your back in judo because you
Ippon,
right?
Yeah.
So as soon as you get thrown, you want to go to your stomach or get flat. So we're like, no, hey, it's okay to go turtle, right?
Yeah.
But let's work on what are you gonna do next? Are you gonna sit out? Are you gonna roll through? Are you gonna stand up? Whatever it is, let's do something, right? That's the only thing. But a lot of the times when it comes to stuff like that, you have to know your athlete first to know how am I gonna coach you, right? Wes, I'm gonna have to yell at you. Bailey, I'm gonna have to say please, right? Bailey, please do this. Hey, please, with your right hand, you know your athlete, right? And that's the hard part. Something we did notice is that his intensity has went up,
Oh yeah. Okay.
right? 1,000,000%. He was always good.
Yeah.
He was always strong. That was never the problem. Now his cardio's there. Of course, he was coming off from
Some big surgery.
some fixtures with his knees. So we're like, hey, there's nothing wrong, right? A lot of the problems for everyone is mental, right? And that's where we really try to help is mentally, right? Where we talk a lot about the mental vitamins and what you put in your body, right? How you fuel yourself. So we feel like there's different ways to go about it for each individual. Some you may need to be motivated. Some need to be yelled at. Some, hey, this is where you're having problems, so we're gonna put you here, me and my brother, and we're gonna make your life a living hell for however long we need to till we break the pattern.
Yeah.
Right. And
But you know, that's what makes a good coach. It's what makes a good teacher. Anybody who's trying to instill something in somebody else is recognizing that there's not necessarily a one size fits all approach. It's knowing your athlete, knowing your student, and tailoring your coaching to what they need to learn and how they need to learn it. So that's great that y'all see that. You know,
One thing I noticed with Trent and Crystal, I mean, they're very have a lot of intuition. Like the intuition, that gray area skill. Like I feel like I'll put him in a guard or in a position, and he's no thinking about he knows how to disconnect. You know, that gray area skill right there. You know, I told him that like the last 3 times I've been here. I'm like, man, I'm noticing that it may be a position you're not in often, but you know how to get out of it because you've built that gray area skill from the CLA. So that's really cool to see. So I've got a couple things before we close out. One, I want to know a piece of advice that y'all would both give, each kind of give me your own, to someone who's starting out a gym, or not just starting out a gym, but like starting with ecological approach or changing the ecological approach. What is something you could tell somebody who wants to start going down that route, either put their toe in the water or they want to go full force? What would you kind of say?
So, right, I've talked to you about this before, and I'll say it right at the podcast. Like, we used to have limiting beliefs with the gym, like you have to be a world champion, you have to be a veteran black belt, you have to have all these prerequisites to have a successful gym, and none of them are true. You know, we mentioned our teammate Sergio in Monterrey. He started a gym as a blue belt. Now he has one of the biggest gyms in Mexico. And I think I read he has a gym called Peak. Paul Helms is his name. He's a black belt. He wrote a book. My buddy had it at work, and he's like, read it. It's cool. It's a good book. I literally read one page, and it said what he's saying. You don't need to be a world champion. You just need to have good culture. You need to be. And I was like, cool, thank you. That's all I needed. And it really like broke up. I called Diego. I'm like, Diego, we don't need to be world champions. Like, we can have a really good gym as long as we have a good curriculum, which was CLA, which from the beginning, I was like, that is gonna separate us, and it's gonna really be our product. That's what's gonna separate us, because people are getting good, they're having fun, they're losing weight.
Yeah, proof of concept.
Exactly.
And then, you know, we're personable. You know, we have certain rules so everyone feels inclusive, everyone feels safe, and that's what matters. So you don't need all these accolades. You don't need a black belt. You just need good culture, good curriculum, good vibes, and everything else falls into place. So that was a huge piece for us. And I was like, oh, okay. And so we're proof. I don't have a world title. He has his white belt world title, but who's coming in the door to, I heard you're a white belt world champion.
I want you to autograph my gift.
Can you? I'm here to train with the best white belt from 2017.
Hey, don't take nothing away from that.
I give him crap.
I'd be wearing that around my neck right now if I had.
I'll pull it out.
I won a pan world title at white belt, and he won a world title. He's like, you don't have a world title.
You don't have a world.
Hands ain't the same as world.
Hands not the same as world. So all that being said is like, you can do it, right? If you love jiu-jitsu, people will no, like I know you love jiu-jitsu. Like I could tell Trent was obsessed with grappling. That's really people can read through the BS real fast.
Yeah.
They can read. You don't need to be a empath, right? You come in, you kind of get it, and after a while you're like, this guy's just watching YouTube techniques and he's on his phone just, good job everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, they know.
Yeah.
There's world champions that are not good people.
Oh yeah.
You know, that doesn't make you a good person if you're a black belt, doesn't make you a good person if you're a world champion. So those are just extra things to having a successful business. Can you mark all those little details, the little back end things that he learned through working at Alvarez? So, and the other thing is ask, right? I have a buddy named Kevon. He has a gym called Bodega in New Jersey. I met him at Greg Souders. I was like really dealing with the fear of like, should I work with this marketing company, And I gave him a call. He's like, dude, do it. Basically, that's what he said, do it. He's like, I was like, man, thank you, Kevon. You really helped me. He's like, bro, you got to call more often. You got to call people. He's like, he's like, whatever gym is in your area, what are they doing good? Ask them. I'm always asking people around me. If they don't want to help me, okay, I'll go to the next guy. He's like, don't be afraid to ask. And right, jiu-jitsu is all about don't have an ego. Yeah. But I have an ego where I'm like, I got to be self-made. I don't need to ask no one for help.
Yeah.
But this is going to take you longer to get where you need to be. So if someone can give you some good advice, take it. Yeah. And I think that kind of answers your question as far as like.
What about you, Diego? What do you got?
Man, have a good team around you.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, luckily, we're brothers, we have each other, but again, we're a perfect yin and yang, right? Everyone will tell you our personalities, they're very similar, but when you really they're total opposite.
They complement
we complement each other very well, right? Whether it's good cop, bad cop with kids, right? Yeah. Whatever it needs to be, like, we work very, very well together, right? Whether you're brothers or not, you're business partners. If you have a business partner, you need to know how to have tough conversations, right? My brother told me a few months ago, he said, hey man, I don't think you're doing enough, right? So there's either a few ways I could take that, right? To heart, like, come on, bro, are you serious? Or like, you're right, you know what? What is it that I need to do? Or what is it that you expect from me, right? Because we needed to figure out each other's expectations before we could be like, we could get upset. Oh, sorry, bro, I didn't know you wanted me to do that. Yeah. You know, so settle your expectations, figure out what it is you do or don't want, and then your environment. I think the environment's probably the most important thing. Like my brother said, people can read right through you relatively fast. And then I'm 24, he's 31. We're young, so naturally people will kind of look at you like, you know, they'll give you a second look, like, let's see, right? So we know we always have to be in our A game, right? So it's just different ways to approaching it. Find your area, right? Market. Walk around, email, call schools, right? Go to Facebook, right? Not even just ads on Facebook, your groups. Find where you live. There's always gonna be a group, right? I'm pretty sure there's a group for your neighborhood. There should be a group page for your team. You always wanna find the area you're in and market immediately. Other than that, have fun, right? We want to do this full time, and I'm assuming other people want to do this full time, or they want to be a coach. Have fun. If you're not having fun, you're in the wrong business, right? Regardless of what it is.
Yeah, you gotta remember why you did it to begin with, and it's because you love jujitsu. So,
and it doesn't mean days aren't going to be tough, right? But then you're going to have that one little kid who just comes up to you out of nowhere, gives you a hug, or you know, like just starts asking you questions. Like, wow, this is why I do it. You know, like, And then personally, I think both of us, we don't like working for people, right? So you got to know who you are, know your skill set. We've always wanted to work for ourselves because of our mom, where it was like, make sure you take that extra step to success. Right? So that's it. I'm just keep playing, not short, but a little plain, nice and sweet.
No, that's all really good advice and stuff that I'll take in because I don't know if Trent's talked about it with y'all, but me and Trent talk about it all the time. We want to own our own gym together one day.
That's awesome.
And essentially the same setup. Y'all got the same vibe where y'all are like yin and yang, and it, you know, we feel like our idea, it's just an idea right now, but it's like, I have this large boxing background. He has a huge judo background. We come together with both jiu-jitsu black belts, and we have a lot to offer for our school, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so you put all those three things together, and you have a recipe for some success if you can find the right area and do it correctly, you know what I mean? So that's something we look forward to. And so like how you were talked about, you kind of got your feet wet when you were working with Alvarez. We're kind of doing the same, and that's not like we thought like, oh, we're going to do this so we can get some experience. It's kind of happening, you know? It's just like I help teach at our gym all the time. I love it. I've always felt a passion for teaching. I enjoy teaching since I skated. I used to give skate lessons from when I was young to boxing to, jiu-jitsu, you know? And I think that it's just, it's kind of like a calling, you know what I mean? So we're hoping that it works out that way. That's our main goal to eventually, years and years from now, because we'll have black belts.
People will help you.
Yeah.
People will help you. And again, you don't have to be a black belt. You just have to be someone has to like you, and they could give you a lot of money.
Yeah.
We actually got told that recently. We have some Brazilian friends, like, they're like, bro, people are gonna give you money if you like, they got these big loans. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
They gotta pay it back.
Yeah.
But they believe in them so much. They're like, here's a lot of money.
6.
3, 4, 5. 5 figures, right? Here's 5 figures. It's like, if you really want something, things start to fold, like, it's just crazy what our mind can do, and like the way we be surrounded. Like, Trent and Crystal are a huge blessing to Vasquez Jiu Jitsu. Like, could we teach classes alone? Maybe, sure. But it'd be very stressful.
Yeah.
Right?
I wouldn't be able to work the front desk.
Yeah.
They help
I
us
just
so much, and I think they were put in the right place at the right time, where they were transitioning away from their gym.
Yeah.
We were still up and coming. It worked out.
I remember all of it, man. We weren't working together yet, but we talk like crazy,
Yeah.
and we were talking about jiu-jitsu like crazy. So he was telling me what gyms he's trying out, like told me about Vasquez, and I was a part of that whole process, at least knowing and in on
Others
it.
he went to while they were, weighing pros and cons of all the places.
They were happiest with this gym, so obviously that's why they're here. So, but
That's why you're here.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
all because of that, right? And so, he cross-trained while he was in that stage of life, I guess, stage of transition. He would cross-train in our gym, him and Crystal. And so then when he came here, I was like, dude, can I come check it out? I want to come try it out. And y'all were super welcoming, so I appreciate y'all for that. So, but I feel like that gets us to a really good point, like a good stopping point. But before we go, I got two last things that are really quick. I'm gonna give y'all a couple quick fire questions, and then I'm gonna ask y'all can kind of think about it for a second. But a hot take. What's y'all's hot take? Something that y'all think people may not agree with. We may have probably touched on a bunch of them.
This whole episode is a hot take.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
that should be the title, the hot take episode.
I love it. I love that.
So, like, real quick, I'm gonna give y'all some quick fire questions. Hopefully, I don't mess up the order of these, since it's a good chance. So, it's gonna be like gi or no gi.
Gi.
Okay, back attacks, mount attacks.
Back.
Leg locks or arm bars.
Arm bars. We're the same.
Said
Sorry.
you were different.
Sorry.
Some people are like, you sound like your brother. I'm like, don't say that.
All the time. All the time.
That's hilarious. Colored gis or traditional like IBJJF gis?
I'm black white.
Black white gis, okay?
I like blackies.
Black gis.
Wrong answer.
She's like,
I
she
know,
asked me
I'm
whenever she came on
sorry.
Saturday, she was like, do they have any gi requirements? Because she wants to wear the ugliest color gis all the time.
You can wear pink,
I
whatever
literally
color you
don't
want.
think
to wear.
I would
We
join a
don't.
gym that told me I couldn't wear a funny
It'd be a
colored
hard
gi.
selling point.
It
yeah,
would be
for
really
sure.
hard for me to get over, because I've invested a lot of money in all my rainbow colored tees.
We were at first very traditional, like, no, black or white. Black, white, or blue. But now we're like, whatever, just come train.
Just
have
do
fun.
jiu-jitsu,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for it.
Yes.
All right, IBJJF or ADCC?
How about CJI?
CJI, let's go.
I know, but competing or watching? Wait.
Let's go
Competing or
competing
watching?
first.
Okay, IBJJ.
IBJJ.
Okay, and then watching.
Right now, CJI.
Yeah.
I've been watching all the B team, like
Entertaining.
the trials for it. It's been
I haven't
really
got to watch the
entertaining.
trials. They've been really good.
You watched the London one?
Lachlan's is good. The Australian trials. The
European ones is
It's crazy. And that's why I like it, because it's a bunch of chaos. They're running into walls. They're wrestling on top
really?
of couches.
on a couch. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
On
It's
top of couches.
yeah, it doesn't make sense. I think there should have been, a little bit more like
Be a little more
professionalism.
structured.
Yeah, a little bit more structured, like the Lachlan one. But that's why I also was drawn to it, because of the chaos.
Yeah.
So again, there we go. You see the differences a little bit, right? I like the chaos a little bit more than he does.
It kind of makes sense though, because Craig Jones, I feel like he's definitely on the selling point of entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he's put, if whoever's winning those, maybe they're really entertaining. You know what I mean?
Structure is not entertaining, just generally speaking.
Yeah, that's true.
Chaos is entertaining. That's why people watch reality TV.
and that's why
That's
people
true.
watch fighting.
Jersey Shore.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. So then on to the hot take. What do y'all got? You have anything? I know I kind of put you on the spot. To tell y'all anything
I
about
got a
this.
good one.
Go ahead.
I think white belts can learn heel hooks.
Okay.
Oh.
In the gi?
Yeah. I'm not that crazy.
All right, slow down. Slow down.
That's a good one.
That's a great one.
I think I think they can learn heel hooks.
I don't know how I could up that.
Yeah.
That was really good, actually. I was not expecting that. So I think they should kind of go back to how they used to, right? At a certain point, I think brown and black belts should compete against each other.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. They
Oh,
brown
that
and
was
black. used to-
Oh, the women, not the
Women,
guys.
the women. But I think they should do that with men and women, black and brown belt, adult. I think that should be its own. Again, I know there's already a world, but just like how they do the Crown Grand Prix, I think they should get the 4 heaviest weights champions, brown and black belt. They compete, the best against best.
You know, I could say that like Joseph Chen is a brown belt.
Right.
What's the?
But just think about Cassia and who won last year.
At feather?
Yeah, at feather.
Not Bia Basilio.
Just say Cassia and someone else, right? When Cassia won the her worlds, it would have been awesome to see a brown belt world champion at feather go against a black belt world champion at feather, man or woman, right? Just doesn't, of course, men, right? Whatever. But I think that would be awesome, right?
Well, I mean, we've talked before, especially at adult, how once they go adult, everybody goes out of juvenile, basically out of the kids' belts, straight to a blue belt, and a lot of your blue belts are not really blue belts, and therefore their purple belts are not really purple belt.
That's what I was gonna say. My new hot take is there should be a new division for like the adult or the juveniles to adult that's like based off of time in.
Right.
Like if you started at 8 years old and you're now be getting a blue belt, I mean, and then you have this guy who's like just started in high school, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's gonna get smoked. I mean, most likely not.
Right.
I mean, it's not set in stone, but I mean, when you got some kid from AOJ who was 7 years old and is now a phenom, homeschooled at AOJ, yeah. So yeah, that's my hot take on competition: is there should be a separate division that is based off skill, so it puts the competition pool at a higher level. You know what I mean?
But then what about those crossbreed guys like Nicky Rod, right? He was a wrestler, right? He didn't wrestle at the highest level, but he had some grappling experience. But then he took off black belt Slayer, and he's only trained for 7 years.
See, but what did he do on his own? He decided I'm good enough and signed up. So they could sign up for the divisions if they wanted to, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like they're required if you only have.
Right. Okay.
So like in this division, you can't have more than X amount of experience of time in. You know what I mean?
Right. The highest level experience can't go down.
Right.
But the lowest can go up.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So if you really want to test yourself against someone who's been doing this for 13 years and you've been doing it for 2, or whatever,
Right.
then go ahead.
Yeah.
So
like
yeah,
that.
that's my hot take. But
Oh, that was awesome.
anyways, guys, come check out Vasquez, man. It's an awesome gym, awesome brothers. They're doing a great job over here. So
Thank you.
anyways, guys, I'm Weslee,
I am Bailey.
and this is the Weslee Weighs In podcast with Jorge and Diego.
Thank you.
Later, y'all.